Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're exploring something absolutely, literally mind-bending. Have you ever wondered if your thoughts actually interact with the physical world around you? Like, actually change things? Well, we're going to look at a totally fascinating framework that bridges neurobiology, quantum physics, and this concept of harmonic resonance. We're going to see how these elements interact to literally shape our physical reality. It's an incredible journey from the tiny electrical sparks in your hand all the way out to the very fabric of space and time.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think of our agenda today like a giant Russian nesting doll, peeling back layers of reality. First, we'll start with the brainwave spectrum. 2, we'll move to the modulation paradox. 3, we're going to zoom out to the quantum observer effect. 4, we'll anchor it all with bioenergetic torus fields. And finally, 5, we'll explore the physics of transition. Section 1, the brainwave spectrum, foundations of mind. To truly wrap our heads around our reality, we've got to first look at the foundational electrical machinery of our own brains. So at the very core of our biological rhythms, we have brainwaves. Basically, these are oscillatory electrical patterns, and we measure them in hertz. You can kind of think of them like a massive biological orchestra, right? They represent the synchronization of huge groups of neurons just firing together in your brain. These electrical waves are absolutely crucial. They act as the main bridge between your conscious awareness and your subconscious mind. Now, standard clinical models usually just focus on 5 states, from delta up to gamma. But, researchers often include the ultra-fast and ultra-slow bandwidths to give us the whole picture. Let's start at the very top, moving fast. Lambda waves are at a blazing 100 hertz or more. This is high-level cognitive integration, literally hyper-binding all your sensory data in an absolute flash. Right below that is gamma, at 38 to 100 hertz, giving you that rapid peak focus, insight, and the synthesis of disparate information. Moving down to beta, 12 to 38 hertz, we hit our standard, everyday analytical waking consciousness and everyday logic. Then, we start to slow down. Alpha, at 8 to 12 hertz, acts as a bridge. It's that calm, focused alertness. Slower still is theta, 4 to 8 hertz, where you actually access the subconscious, creative flow, and vivid visualization. Then we sink into delta, from 0.5 to 4 hertz. This is deep restorative sleep where cellular and physical regeneration happens. And finally, we reach epsilon, dipping below half a hertz. This is the profound, basal, foundational rhythmic timing for your entire neuronal network. Moving on to section 2, the modulation paradox, frequencies combined. We're pulling back another layer of that Russian doll here to reveal a really fascinating biological plot twist about how these extreme frequencies actually interact. Okay, so on the left, we've got those ultra-fast lambda waves we just talked about, over 100 hertz, pure rapid-fire cognitive processing. And on the right, we have the ultra-slow epsilon waves, less than half a hertz, characterized by profound physiological stillness. Now, I have a question for you. How could a human brain possibly experience both intense, rapid-fire processing and profound, steady stillness at the exact same time? It doesn't seem to make sense, right? Well, the answer is a mind-blowing neurological process called modulation. Research actually suggests that these super fast and super slow frequencies aren't independent of one another at all. Instead, they're intrinsically linked. High-frequency lambda waves are frequently observed literally riding on the oscillations of the slow epsilon waves. So intense cognitive processing and foundational stillness can actually happen simultaneously because they're physically locked together in this modulated rhythm. It's almost like a surfer riding a massive, slow-moving ocean swell. Section 3, the quantum observer effect. Attention shapes reality. Now we're expanding our narrative outward, moving from the neurobiology inside your skull out into the mind-bending realm of quantum mechanics. In quantum mechanics, reality before observation is just chaotic potential. It's described as a wave function, which honestly is just a mathematical description of all possible states. Importantly, these states exist only as pure probability, represented by the symbol psi, until they're actually observed. It literally means reality is just infinite potential, kind of like a giant menu of every possible meal, waiting for a trigger to force it into existence. And this brilliantly illustrates the observer effect. Step 1, the universe just sits there in infinite probability. Step 2, your human brain focuses its attention, acting as the quantum observer. Step 3,
That observation forces the chaotic environmental data to collapse into a single, localized physical reality. It converts infinite potential into specific, sequential sensory experiences. This creates what we call clock time, which is essentially just the measurement of physical matter transitioning through space. So your attention is literally the catalyst for reality. How crazy is that? Section 4. Bioenergetic torus fields. Anchoring reality. Okay, let's bring this vast cosmic quantum physics concept directly back down to Earth and right into the human body. Did you know both your brain and your heart generate electromagnetic torus fields? A torus is a self-recirculating vortex-like structure. Think of the shape of a donut, with energy flowing down through the center and wrapping around the outside. Notice how the brain's field is primarily electrical and analytical. That facilitates our logical processing. But the heart's field, however, is primarily magnetic, and it acts as a massive energetic anchor for your entire body. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this massive number right here, 5,000. The heart's magnetic torus field is up to 5,000 times greater in strength than the brain's field. Let that sink in for a second. Your heart is an absolute bioenergetic powerhouse compared to your brain. So, the absolutely crucial point here is how these two fields interact with each other. Because the heart's field is so massively powerful, engaging in grounding practices allows the heart to create something called entrainment. What this means is the larger magnetic field of the heart literally forces the brain's chaotic electrical activity to synchronize with the heart's steady rhythm. We call this heart-brain coherence, and it is the absolute key to increase cognitive stability and profound emotional regulation. Section 5. The physics of transition. Conscious navigation. Consider this your practical, everyday guide to navigating the physics of your own consciousness. Let's look at this whole thing from a thermodynamic perspective. How do states of consciousness actually transition into physical reality? Well, step 1 begins with high-frequency states, like lambda and gamma. This is high energy and low density, where linear time is actually perceived differently, often feeling like time dilation. Step 2 requires energy deacceleration. For energy to manifest as tangible matter, it literally has to slow down. Step 3 is physical manifestation, following Einstein's famous equation E equals mc squared. As the energy deaccelerates, it gains mass and becomes subject to the linear progression of clock time. High-energy consciousness literally slows down to become tangible physical creation. Now, because your attention collapses reality, you can actively regulate this process. By intentionally utilizing sensory anchors like olfactory inputs through smell, visual inputs through sight, and tactile inputs through physical touch, you can actively regulate your brainwave state. So for example, deeply focusing on the rich smell of your morning coffee, or feeling the physical texture of the steering wheel in your hands actively pulls you from a chaotic, high-frequency state right into a grounded reality. You're intentionally collapsing your focus from those high-frequency, dilated probability states into a grounded, sequential reality. You are, quite literally, putting your hands on the steering wheel of the observer effect.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. You are not just a passive passenger in this universe. Through your brainwaves and your attention, you are the conscious architect of your physical experience. So, how will you use your sensory anchors today to shape the quantum field into your own physical reality?